Great morning, sister.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been too long.
It really has.
Too long. You've been greatly missed on my screen. For real.
Yeah, I have been all over the place and nowhere at the same time, but not online a lot these days.
Understood. Understood. Handling Taylor business.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you. I greatly appreciate you for joining me on here. Um I've been trying to get a reunion going, but everyone's life is lifing.
Yeah,
Everyone's I can't believe it's been like 2 years.
I think 2 or 3 years since we've all kind of done something together.
Yeah, yep. I'm going to get a reunion someday. Someday. Just let you know, this is a meeting that I've been anticipating. Even though I didn't, I mean, I don't look at the schedule because I
Uh-huh.
love the how organic it is and the element of surprise.
hmm
I always have. I think it was maybe like 3 days ago. I looked at my Google Calendar and was like, Taylor's on.
Yeah, yeah. I saw you post and I was like, I wonder if people responding, but I have this week free. My birthday's tomorrow, so I took the week off. So I was like, why not?
Oh, birthday girl.
Yeah.
Gotta celebrate you. 21 again.
I was gonna say we'll stick with 21 for a while.
Yeah, we have to. All right. Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard. On today's episode, I have the tremendous honor of speaking with Taylor, aka Taylorbetic, aka friend, family, sister, organizer, leader, all of the above. Taylor, I have to give this introduction to you, to this audience, because about 4 years ago, I don't think I would have continued in this space and doing the things that I do if it wasn't for such people as yourself. Because if you know me, everything about me is about being real, like
Yeah.
100%. And the authenticity that you are is more than above and beyond. Like you are truly you. And I truly, like I said, I truly appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Could you please give the audience a briefing of who you are?
Okay. Thank you for that introduction. I try to be myself in all spaces because I don't really know how to be anybody else particularly well. But I'm Taylor. I am a mental health educator kind of in my community here in Austin, Texas. So I teach classes about basic mental health kind of skills and literacy across the Austin area. I also have a small kind of caseload of clients as a therapist. Those are the big pieces. If you see me on social media, it's probably with my service dog, Claire. So I have a diabetic alert dog who's a huge part of everything I do, and also learning how to kind of be an advocate and stand up for myself. Because if you've met a service dog owner, that comes with a lot of constantly having to set boundaries with folks and things like that. Yeah, those are the big pieces.
Oh, you said those are the big pieces, but everything about you is a big piece. Um, so Taylor, again, we met 4 years ago on the cusp of the pandemic. Um, I don't know, like one day I woke up and was like, I got an epiphany, and I was like,
Uh,
I was talking to Priya, and it's been a while since I spoke to her also. And I was talking to her, and I was like, we should start some type of group or organization where different people from different aspects of life come together just to help others in their continued development, education, garner resources, all of those things, because we've all been there.
Hmm.
And the first pick of the 2020 pandemic draft was Taylor.
That's wild.
You
Wild.
word, like she was like, we gotta get Taylor. And I'm like, yes, Taylor. And then it was KM, and then we rounded it all up with Stephanie. Like it was all of us.
Yeah.
And we had some great conversations while we were locked in, uh,
Yeah.
just trying to navigate and learn through the pandemic.
That
And
was such a time.
it's and today I do see like a lot of people who, I mean, we were all ready to be over the pandemic,
Hmm.
even though we know like it's still ongoing. Yes.
Absolutely.
But we have been able to navigate in this world um to the best of our abilities. So Taylor, the first thing you mentioned was working in mental health.
Hmm.
And that was something that you and I had in common. Um, and I do want to just catch up with you a bit on that, because it's because of you that I actually furthered some of my career in mental
Really?
health. Yes.
What have you been up to?
So I was already working in the education system as a media literacy and asset development coach.
Hmm.
But I decided during a break in the diet crew that I said I'm going to go become a certified diabetes educator specialist. And but as I was doing that and the pandemic
Hmm.
was building, I said, someone mentioned something to me about global diabetes awareness. So I went and got a certification in global diabetes awareness and advocacy. That's why I've like been like rounding and doing all of these things.
Hmm.
And it was because of like yourself. You used to speak a lot about continuing education. Um Even the jobs that you had, how you were learning on the job, and
Yeah.
just knowing those things, and knowing your background a bit, it helped me in my development, because you and I, when we first met, we were both going through some real deep, dark times in our
Hmm.
lives. And again, I thank you for helping me out of that dark time.
Yeah. You've been busy. I'm so kind of, it's so cool to hear about all the stuff you've been doing and getting those additional kind of certs. I am in the process of finishing up master's number two right now, and it's a process. It is a process, but I do think, and I still think this, a huge part of being an advocate and getting online and yelling into the void is making sure that you're informed and you know what you're talking about somewhat, instead of just yelling at people about your personal experience, because that's going to vary. We got a lot in common, but that's going to vary. And it's important that we have a strong kind of foundation for some of the topics that we're talking about, because we're talking about real serious stuff that impacts real people's lives. And for some people, the only info they're getting is what they're seeing from someone on social media, which shouldn't be the case, but it absolutely is with the way our healthcare system is set up. And that you're going to call yourself an advocate, I think that comes with a bit more responsibility than sometimes folks put that thought into.
Right. Even though we know that some people who are considered coaches and advocates, they don't have the educational background at all. They
Yeah.
just show or present themselves in a certain way,
Hmm.
and people navigate towards that because of the algorithm that is fed. and it feels like this is a conversation we've had many times over,
Yep.
but it's not stopping. It's not stopping. That's why we got to take on and over this world.
Yeah, I see it every time I'm outside. I'm like, I don't know if this person has any qualifications besides you like how they look, or you're envious of how they're managing, and that's not actually an educational tool.
It's not, but hopefully it helps someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but anytime, like, if you first apologize, if I find someone who looks like us and they're talking about certain things, certain topics, I send them your way. Um, because I know like you've mastered not only the education but the lived experience of certain things.
Yeah.
Yes, I do send them your way because
I,
you're that.
yeah, I appreciate it. I love chit-chatting with folks in my DMs, and talking about what's going on with different people's life experiences and how a lot of the same old nonsense is happening everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of it. It's like a revolving door that we stepped
Hmm.
into, and somehow we're entrapped in it and can't get out of. But as long as we do our part, I think that's
Yeah.
what our grandmoms used to tell us. Do your part. Just don't
Yeah.
follow the crowd. Be a leader.
Yeah. And do what little I can. And I hope that that has some kind of positive impact.
It will. You are a positive impact. If certain words are brought up in this space, like leading, I'm going to just lead with it. Diabulimia. If it's
Hmm.
brought up in this space, you are the person that is the go-to to just to initiate a conversation with. Like I tell people, like that's not a mastery in my education at all, but I know someone who has the resources to share it with you. And I'm like, there's Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate that because I work really closely with the DBH kind of helpline. And we have a ton of resources available for folks if they reach out and want to chat, or if someone is just starting to think that they are experiencing some of that stuff and want to learn more about what it is. I always have educational resources to point you to, always open for a conversation. Uh,
Right. What are you getting your second master's in right now?
my goodness. So this is
You're getting it
this
in my goodness.
this is a long conversation about bureaucracy, and how all of our systems are wild. So I have a master's in applied psychology with kind of an emphasis in program design and research. Because once upon a time, I was a bright-eyed undergrad and thought, oh, I'll get a master's and then go straight to get a PhD. And life was like, no, ma'am, relax. You need to get a real people job in between. So unfortunately, because I did not have 9 additional hours of an internship on that first master's, I did not qualify to take the Texas exam to do clinical work. So I am now getting an entirely second master's where I took essentially 40-ish of the same hour plus the additional 9 internship hours to do clinical work. So I am now at the end of that master's. Fingers crossed, we will wrap that up in May, to be able to do full-time kind of clinical work and really get into doing more of the work that I want to do outside of the education piece. And also hopefully eventually getting that certified diabetes educator cert. But you've got to be licensed in the clinical part of mental health first to be able to do that unconventional track to be a diabetes educator as well. Yeah, eventually that's the route we want to take.
Eventually, we'll be calling you Dr. Taylor.
Eventually,
It's going to
eventually.
happen. It's going to happen. Speaking into existence.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying not to think that far ahead yet. I'm like one goal at a time.
Right. Because if we look back at, let me see. Let me see if how great my memory is. Because I don't know if you remember, like my memory is like on point. Hold on. 11-year-old Taylor? No, 16-year-old Taylor. If we think back on 16-year-old Taylor, yes, 16-year-old Taylor, it was
Uh,
11-year-old Stephanie.
mm-hmm.
16, if we think back on 16-year-old Taylor, before diagnosis, um, the things that you wanted to do, the dreams you had, you were already what, a sophomore or junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So many visions. Today, you have even greater vision.
Yeah.
You've accomplished a lot more than you probably set out for on this journey. And you've done that while conquering diabetes, conquering any other autoimmune or chronic health condition, um, lived life experiences and trauma, all of those things. Look, you even got you have a diabetic alert dog. And myself, King, King up, up, come on, up, boy. Can you see him?
Oh,
Look, look,
dang.
we know that with our babies next to us, these pups, like that's even another added responsibility. But
It
you've been
is.
able to conquer all of these things and you're living a life. So I want to let you know this because I know that not often in any space or people in general, people of color, I don't know. I mean, you know how much I love our black women, our the black queen, like you're everything. Seriously, not often are we gifted the flowers. And not only that, but not often or everyone shared the persons, the people that are making things happen, that are putting in the footwork and just being showing appreciation for them. And again, from day one, I've truly enjoyed your presence because it is a gift. And I just want to let you know, continue that the journey that you're on, the path that you're on, little Taylor, little Taylor would be looking in that mirror or looking outside of her front door and visioning like whatever she was visioning at 15 before the onset of diabetes. Just know like that is still there. Plus, you've done so much more and you continue to.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's wild to think. It's wild to think about diagnosis and what I thought life was going to be like at 15, 16. Uh, Diagnosis, re-diagnosis. My endo didn't think I was going to make it this far. So that's always a fun kind of thing
And
to look back on.
um, your diagnosis as a teen girl who's already going through every hormonal imbalance that exists with added on emotional stressors of just being a growing woman,
Hmm.
knowing that you're going to have to take on greater responsibilities also. How was that for you, that being diagnosed at that time?
Yeah, it was horrific. So I was originally diagnosed when I was 15, so spring of my sophomore year of high school, uh, right before I turned 16 that fall. Um, I was originally diagnosed as a type 2. So I went, geez, almost a year without any kind of insulin, just kind of taking metformin and a few other things and being told to eat less, um, essentially, eat less and exercise. And that would manage my blood sugar. And surprise, surprise, that did not work. Um, but I did listen. I was a good student. I always trusted my doctors. I did what they told me to do. So I ate less and I ate less. And eventually that turned into, unless someone was watching me, eating nothing. Um, did not help my blood sugars. Uh, I stayed pretty consistently to 300 or so. I continued losing a ton of weight. Like I looked sick. I looked pretty physically sick. And it was just, I felt awful. I was pretty convinced at that point that I was probably going to die before I graduated high school. Because it just seemed like nothing was making me feel better. Uh, and my endocrinologist finally prescribed long acting insulin like a year later. She never told me I was type 1. Because I vividly remember being in the endo office and like looking at the little JDRF brochures with the little tiny babies on them and their parents and their little teddy bears and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, no, that's not you. Uh, and if you get an insulin pump, it's because you failed." I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." Um, and when I got Lantis, I think she was like, "Yeah, this is because you're still sneaking food and stuff like that. You're not going to like being on insulin." And so that went on for another 6 months or so. And then eventually short acting got added. Still at no point did this woman ever tell me that I had type 1 and not type 2. That conversation was never had. Not with me, not with my mom. I don't think I got an official diagnosis ever from my pediatric endo. Did not have any of like the peptide testing or anything like that until I was 25 and enrolled in a research study and was like, can we actually check this just for funsies? Even though so far past diagnosis, of course I have all of the markers of type 1 at this point. I probably haven't made insulin in years, but it was a wild ride as a teenager. I think 15 through 22 are the absolute worst um, times to be diagnosed. And I've talked to a few folks in the community who kind of fall in that young adult bucket where you're not a kid. So you end up getting a lot of responsibility for management kind of dumped on your lap. Uh, and at the same time, you're also experiencing all of those big life transitions. You're graduating high school, you might be going away to college, you might be starting, like entering the workforce for the first time. And on top of that, you have to keep yourself alive. And it's a lot. It really, really changes how you think about yourself and how you view the world. And there's not nearly enough support for people kind of during that time period. I certainly didn't have enough support. And even thinking about the types of support that were out there, I think about College Diabetes Network that does such great work with young people now. I don't know if it would have made a difference in my situation. I'd like to think that it would have. And there are folks in the community that I've been having conversations with since I was 21, 17, 18. Um, and they're great, but even still, like it just wasn't there at that time.
I jotted down a note as you're speaking. Trauma on set. The conversation needs to be had because you were 15, 16 years old. Years young. Sorry.
Hmm.
Years young.
Yeah.
Look, my oldest is about to be 16 next month.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way if he were to get any type of chronic health condition, would not only would I trust him with it, but
Yeah.
I just know because of the life that he's led and lived
Mm-hmm.
to for that drastic change to come would possibly spearhead other things with emotion, anger, frustration. He already doesn't like math.
Yeah.
Like,
Me either.
right. Like,
Yeah. Keep you alive math is honestly the cruelest trick of the universe.
oh, it is. And when you spoke of how the doctor, your pediatric doctor at that age, um, kept stating that if you did more of this or more of that, like they weren't truly stating all of the pluses that you were doing. And like you
Yeah.
were doing so much, like you said, to keep Taylor alive. There's so many pluses. Like even when I speak to my children, like I was telling my son the other day, when he was telling me something about math that that he did it that he was having trouble with or whatnot, and I'm like, you still have a 90+%. I said, you're doing great. You're doing
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I said, Jaden, before you come to me talking about the negatives, I said, talk about the positives. Talk about how you wake up every morning and you go there and you don't like this class. Like, talk about those things. Like, come on
Yeah.
now. Like, you're doing it. Like, you've been through school all these years and you've continued to fill that bucket. So why do the white coats literally have a problem with that? Like, why can't they clap for us? Weren't they clapping for a 15, 16-year-old girl who truly just took on and over the world literally by herself?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew what that lady. She doesn't see patients anymore. Oh, thank goodness. But she was just particularly negative. And I've talked to people who are kind of endos now and who are in medicine in some sorts. And they're like, sometimes you got to be tough on people. And as part of my like real people job, as part of my 9 to 5, I tell people all the time, tough love doesn't work with people. Like tough love is completely useless if love isn't what you're leading with. And we're strangers. I am a patient. The power differential here means you have to communicate care before you communicate anything else. And that is never what I got from that provider. But there's very much this attitude that diabetics, particularly people who are diagnosed with type 2, that we're lazy, that we don't care about our health, that we're not engaged in the process or informed. And I think about that when I think about the lack of information that my mother was given. Um, she wasn't really told how to take care of me. Like we were given no information. And just to think about that is absolutely, absolutely wild. In what circumstance do you send a kid home with such a serious condition and you don't give no care instructions for their parents? So I had eye surgery as a kid to correct some stuff with my eyes, fairly minor. But I know that doctor gave me a full briefing at 13 about like what to expect and how to care for my eyes afterwards and things like that. I gave it to my mom afterwards. We got sheets of paper with what to expect and what to do. Not once did I ever get that from a pediatric endocrinologist.
All they said was stop.
Mhm.
They told you to stop doing things. That's it.
Stop eating, and stop gaining weight.
Instead of gifting you the measurable steps to be your best. Education is a thing that's truly lacked in general I mean, especially like people of color. That's all I speak to, true. Like people of
Yep.
color with
Yep.
diabetes, because 9 out of 10 of us are left that office with zero information. We learn it like we do most things
Hmm.
off of experience, which that shouldn't be the case. That should be the second part of it.
Yeah.
Like, where is that one pager that just breaks down small bullets of this, what it is that you have, what you can do to help better yourself, steps to taking care of you, family. It's a
Hmm.
traumatic experience for your family, your mother. Like, how or how are you healing the body without healing the inner workings, the mind, the spirit, all of those things? Because trauma is trauma,
Hmm.
and trauma on top of trauma is damage control.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we also don't give enough thought to most of us. I know very few, and I'll just say Black people. I know very few Black people with diabetes who, with type 1, who also don't have relatives with type 2, who haven't been closely involved with people who have kind of type 2 and learning about how to, like, I knew how to give shots long before I was diagnosed. I had been giving my grandma her Atlantis and checking her blood sugar in the morning for years at that point. Um,
Right.
to
And
this to this day, my mom has never checked my blood sugar because she had such an experience with my grandma. And so to this day, she hasn't. My sister does it. If there's some reason I can't do it, my sister will do it because she learned when I did how to take care of my grandma. To this day, I don't think my mom has ever given me insulin. I don't think she can tell you broad strokes about some of the gadgets, but the specifics of what each piece is, couldn't tell you a thing. But for most of her adult life, my grandmother had uncontrolled type 2 and was super sick. In hindsight, I don't think she was diagnosed appropriately because I don't.
uncontrolled or uneducated.
Mhm, mhm. I don't think she was particularly diagnosed appropriately, given that I have the same kind of patterns if I am taking long-acting insulin that we saw with her whole life. The same swings, the same just not reacting well to it. I think she probably needed some short-acting insulin in there. But I have three uncles who've recently been diagnosed with kind of type 2. The education that they were given was, we're going to stick a CGM on you, scan it like twice a day, and you need to cut out carbs. Uh, One of them was given a Lantus prescription that was like 40 units. So he was given a prescription with like 40 units, told to not eat any carbs and exercise more. He almost passed out because he was low, because he was like, I don't want to be like my mom was either. So I'm going to threw out every carb in his house, threw out every carb in his house and started walking miles and miles and miles on top of taking an exorbitant amount of insulin. Nobody told him that he could go low. Nobody told him that that could be dangerous in the Texas humidity and heat. Nobody told him that a cracker would not kill him. So
They
there's
over
no education.
they over prescribed him a basal instead of implementing short acting. And I see this so often. Like you said, you started with your grandma as a kid. I started with my dad as a kid. 1995, my dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Hmm.
And I remember him like I remember giving him long acting insulin. He never had
Hmm.
any short acting insulin. I remember taking his meter. checking my blood sugar. Like,
Yep.
and it was just funny, Taylor, because I remember us passing around his meter, like me and my siblings and my mom, like,
Because it was fun until it wasn't.
right, right. Like, oh, now I got to do this like all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, as like a lot of us, like people of color, black people, like we know, like you said, someone with type 2. I mean, before my diagnosis, I knew no one with type 1. I didn't even know,
Either.
like, other than
I
like
didn't.
seeing it at a register, like checking out. But knew so many people with type 2,
Hmm.
so we knew we empathy, empathy
Hmm.
for everyone
Yeah.
was already instilled in us. Like I remember my dad cussing out his doctor, and when I got diagnosed, telling him like I'm not going to that doctor.
Nope.
Like, and today it's like it's becoming more and more separate. Like that's why I often ask people like if you're living with a chronic health condition, more than likely someone else in your family is. And your chronic health condition does not sit higher above than anyone else's chronic health condition because
Hmm.
no one chose this. No
Hmm.
one wants this. I love my
Hmm.
community. I love my
Hmm.
people. I love that I get to have this conversation with you, Taylor. But if given the choice of
Hmm.
having a chronic health condition versus not, I'm
I
choosing
choose
not.
no. I would choose no every time.
Right. So, how old is Claire now?
She just turned 8.
Wow.
How old is King?
King is 5.
Oh, it's still a baby.
He, he think he's grown, but I keep telling him he's a little pup.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be 6 in April.
Okay.
A-
Yeah.
April the 4th.
Mm.
I can't believe Claire's 8 now. Time goes by fast when you're having fun.
Yeah. That's my fast for puppers.
Right, right. Too fast, too fast.
Ain't too fast.
Yeah, I told my wife, I said, and she looks at me like, I said, if I have enough money to get my dog cloned, I said it'd be strange and awkward. I said, but
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh. I said I can't even picture life without him. Like,
Yeah. I don't
mm-mm-mm.
know. But my partner has a dog too, and because Claire is having a little bit of a health scare right now
Got you.
that we're having to have checked out, and the line is very clear. I'm like, after this, we will have no more dogs. We will have no more dogs for the foreseeable future because I can't.
I understand. Look, Claire has a friend now.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah,
King
friend.
wants a friend. I'm selfish.
Mm. Would King be nice or would King? Because Claire is a bully. Claire has a friend to push around.
King loves all animals, cats, dogs, whatever. He doesn't even chase squirrels anymore. He just looks at them.
Oh, that's so sweet. No, even at 8, Claire will terrorize a squirrel.
Look, as she should. They shouldn't be
Yeah.
running around her yard.
I try to tell them not to. It's in their best interest not to, because she gets real barky.
Mhm. Yeah, we were talking about chronic health conditions and
Mm-hmm.
how one's not greater than the other.
Yeah.
And that's something I've seen you share along your journey, um, whether it was via post or just in conversations we've had. And I wanted to ask you, like, I know you see it all the time. I see it all the time also. Someone post about for example, like type 2's got this because of blah blah blah. blah blah blah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I don't even if so look, it's easy for me to remove someone from my existence than to engage in a conversation that would disrupt who I am.
Hmm.
It's so much easier.
It is.
How do you navigate that? As
Yeah.
first, as someone who was diagnosed at a young age.
Yeah. I think I used to spend a lot of time trying to engage with people. And that's why I have a lot of empathy. I get the urge to constantly want to be like, actually, no, there are genetic factors, there are societal things, there are all of these things. Nobody asked for this, and to get into that back and forth. Um, I think there are interesting roots to why some of us feel like we really need to dig in and do that. And I'm really always really curious to see if people are still going to take that approach 5, 10 years into their journey. Because for me, it is year 16 going on 17 at this point, because I'm going to be 32 tomorrow. So at this point, my block game is strong. I'm not engaging in conversations with people who have no interest in learning or listening. Um, if the core of your identity is I'm a type 1 diabetic and that makes me different, this is my tragedy, there's nowhere for me to go with you in that conversation because we have a fundamentally different worldview. Yeah, I have type 1, but diabetes isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like, it barely cracks the top 5. Um, so if this is the defining characteristic of this is my struggle, and it's harder than anybody else's struggle, that's not a conversation I can move forward with. It's not going to get anywhere. I'm going to get mad, and I don't have time to be mad at people on the internet about dumb stuff. Like, there's too much other stuff going on that's more important to argue with people who would never say these things in real life. Like, most of these people would never say these things in our actual faces. So
Right, because
I'm not
we
I'm not
do
giving them
go
that
back,
attention.
Taylor. You just reminded me, we go back to getting those DM messages, like those crazy DMs, like,
I had ugly DMs. I for most of
yeah,
2020, that's why at this point, essentially, I could probably go back to posting
look,
things not just on close friends, but my page is almost exclusively like close friends at this point because some of the DMs and like some of the things that people were saying were just wildly, wildly out of pocket or just absolutely inappropriate. And I was like, because I'm a professional with a real people job, I cannot respond to you the way that you deserve. So I'm going to remove myself from this situation.
look, and I'm gonna keep it 100. Crazy old white men have not changed. Like, like they're still the same, like white America. I don't know what to do with the, especially the men. Like, I don't know what to do with them.
I, I don't
And
get it. I don't get it.
you have everything almost like, or you can access it somehow, some way,
Hmm.
but you choose to take from us and
Yeah,
continue to. But I guess it's a learned experience, like everything.
I guess. I know there's another, gosh, is it is it Amani like Prejudice and Spice? I can't remember, but during the pandemic and kind of talking about mass disabling events and how people act within chronic illness communities, kind of made a comment that often people who have privilege outside of their kind of chronic illness will then come into those communities that are a little tighter and then just reinforce those hierarchies in order to preserve some level of self esteem. And that has always stuck with me because I feel like we see it a lot. We see it a lot because my question is why do we, as people with a chronic illness, feel the need to be the diabetes police? Like, what do you gain by telling someone you caused your diabetes? I didn't cause mine. What does that do for you? It doesn't cure your diabetes. It doesn't make insulin free. It doesn't make Dexcom not bleed us all dry. Like, what do you gain? What do you gain from that other than some weird feeling of superiority?
Right. What truly is that gain?
I don't know.
Yeah, when you think like they probably were the same as children. Like no matter what, even if it came to athletics,
Hmm.
no matter what, their parents told them they were the best. No matter what, at whatever they were doing, whether it was football or foosball.
Yeah, maybe.
And from that, maybe they grabbed that baton. It was so much instilled and embedded in them. And it's embedded in a lot of people culturally, where no matter what, they're superior to others.
Hmm.
And many of them don't even know, like, because they refuse to take that look in the mirror and truly reflect on the white fragility that exists.
Hmm. Yeah. And then we enable it. We
We do.
enable it. We enable it by not calling it racism. We'll call it everything else. It's my biggest pet peeve in the diabetes community.
Mhm.
That's why I now just shut up. But is my biggest frustration is we'll call it everything else. I think we have misappropriated the conversation about what stigma is now, and now we're applying stigma to things that is in fact racism and classism. And by calling it stigma, by making it softer and easier for people to digest, we're not doing ourselves any favors. At some point, for us to have any real progress, people have to look in the mirror and confront you hate type 2s because you don't like black people and you really don't like fat black people.
Right. Because
Like, that's what you think about. That's who you don't want to be. And nobody's telling you got to write that on a billboard. You don't have to tell everybody that that's where that like preconception for you comes from, but it would be helpful for folks to acknowledge it and then start to dismantle that internally. Um, that's where so much of it comes from. It's a threatening of self concept and who don't I want to be? What do they gain? They gain. I'm not. They're not us. And I know why my DMs were so ugly, right? I'm the personification of what a lot of those people don't want to be. Uh, and so you do like it, and it doesn't matter how many degrees I have, what titles I have put in my name, what letters I can put behind my name. I will never have as much authority on any topic as a thin white person. And I know that. I've been in conversations where I am me and I show up there and I am the most educated person on a particular topic. And they want to ask me about, well, how do we make what about cultural foods? Or how do we make conversations culturally relevant? I'm like, I, I literally teach mental health classes. I am, in fact, an expert in this, but I have a whole degree in teaching mental health concepts. But okay, let's talk about cultural foods and how Black women want to be curvy.
understanding privilege is a true testament to many of us. We do understand it, but many of us, we also negate to look in that mirror as well when we think of like access to things. Because I mean, I've spoken to people all across the world in Uganda who don't even
Hmm.
have access to glucose meters at times, never seen a CGM in real life, like
Yep.
still
Yep.
using the same NPH insulins that are 30 plus years dated. And I know Cam and I had a conversation about this recently, and we were talking about how people in general just don't truly uh, understand the gift that we have here living in the US, even though insulin should be free for all. Just as my dad's dialysis is free to him.
Yeah.
And me and him speak about that all the time. He can't understand why insulin isn't free. My
Hmm.
uncle, who's a RN in Germany, he's been there since 1984 when he was in the military. And
Hmm.
he's like, Will, I do not understand why y'all are paying for insulin. He said it doesn't matter if you're type 1, type 2, type whatever, diabetic.
You
If
should
you
get a
need it, you
free.
should get it for free.
Hmm.
And that takes me into, again, understanding privilege, just the way that you see people crying and fussing and bickering about not having their whatever technology that they use. I understand the advancements in technology and how great they are. They are great. I mean, I wouldn't choose to go without my insulin pump or my CGM
Yeah.
at all. But we also must acknowledge that sometimes when we're low, there are people that are truly, truly wishing they could just have a taste of what we have.
Yeah.
Sample size.
Hmm. Perspective is a heck of a thing. And that ability to widen the lens is really difficult. And I think it's an intersecting issue with what I was talking about before and that conversation about privilege. And there's such a huge swath, particularly for folks who are engaged in like the online community, where people are pretty privileged. They've had pumps since they were diagnosed, or they've had access to the latest tech every single time and things like that. They might not have liked their pediatric like people, but they had quality healthcare. They had parents with insurance and things of that nature. And so the problems that they have are not the problems that even people in this country who just aren't as financially advantaged have, or who don't live in major cities. Like, as somebody from a rural community, one of the hugest kind of barriers for me and like frustrations with a lot of conversations are like, this is very much based on there's another endocrinologist to go to, right? Like, I'll tell people about my pediatric endocrinologist and they're like, well, why didn't your mom advocate and you can go to other people? So I lived in the middle of the national forest. This is Texas, all that green stuff, and then I lived in the middle of the national forest. We drove 2 hours to see my pediatric endo once every 3 months. That's something my mom had to take off from her real life job to do. When I got insulin, it had to be ordered at my little tiny local pharmacy. And frequently, it was a special order just for me by the time I was fully diagnosed with type 1 because they didn't stock enough fast acting insulin for a type 1 diabetic. Because they only had type 2. So they were like, we got plenty of Lantus, but like this Novolog stuff, we don't even carry that normally, let alone a CGM, things like that. We're having different conversations. And I don't think people ever, they're not talking to people who are from those communities. They have no kind of concept of what's up like, even just on kind of the scale of within the US. And then when you move beyond that, we just don't like to think about it. It's easier not to think about it. It's a lot easier to focus on, I don't want to have to pay for insulin, right? And there are absolutely people who genuinely can't afford insulin and frequently have issues with access and things like that. I always question if we're actually hearing from those people because often the voices I hear are that are the loudest are people who are inconvenienced versus people who've actually struggled. And that disconnect is rough, um, because choosing which bills you're going to pay in order to make sure that you can buy insulin is very different than you didn't get to go on your preferred vacation. Choosing, am I going to pay rent? Am I going to pay my car note? Or am I going to buy insulin? It's a whole different conversation than this is dipping into my fun budget. And we don't, that's uncomfortable. That's an uncomfortable, it's easier to be like, we're all in this together and we all should have free insulin. And yeah, we should. But are we also doing everything we can to really engage people who are struggling right now in a way that isn't condescending and awful?
Right. It's almost like having that conversation and asking, um, when when they do have access to insulin, or they sharing that resource, is that resource available to all?
Mm-hmm.
Because gatekeeping is real,
Mm-hmm.
and it's real all over,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's access to insulin, access to these conferences. Look, we've been having that conversation for 4 years plus, like ongoing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. My gosh. And can people stop having diabetes conferences in states where I don't feel safe going? In states where people's rights are being threatened? And that
mhm.
includes Texas. Like, don't come here. Don't give our government any more money. But no, I don't want to come to Florida ever.
Ever
Sorry.
look.
I'm out. I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't care if it is free. I'm not coming.
Mm. Yeah, that's like a one man thing. Like going, that's like a mission. Like I'm going to Florida. Like, okay, let me think
Hmm.
about all of these things first.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not about it. I'm not about it. Sometimes I wish we took more into context what is going on in the rest of the world. Diabetes doesn't exist in a bubble. Um,
Yeah, I get so many people that live abroad, like in the UK, and they tell me that they'll never ever come here to the US.
yep.
They're like, everything looks good on TV. They're like, but you mean to tell me that I have to get health insurance? They truly do not understand. Like, I try to break it down like I would talk to someone like I'm educating in a media literacy class about like
Yeah.
media and things. And they're like, but still, you have to pay to see a doc. I mean, like, you gotta pay to get your insulin. You gotta,
Hmm.
they're like, what is the formulary and why are there different plans? And like, it's so much of a science. Like,
Hmm. I don't understand it. It is
right.
absolutely wild.
Like, it's like PPOE versus like all of these things. Like, they're like, hold on. It's not,
Hmm.
they're like, it's not the same. Insurance isn't all the same. Like, you just pay into it and then you
Hmm.
can go get your stuff. They're like, I thought it was just that people couldn't afford paying for the insurance. They're like, no, there's gold and silver and platinum plans.
Then you got to pay the doctor. Then you got to pay the doctor to look at your CGM. Then you got to pay the doctor to do the prior auth so that the insulin, like, so that you can get the insulin that the doctor prescribed, which does come with an additional cost. So
Right.
yeah, it's not just paying for the insulin or paying for the insurance. It's the 50 steps in between.
So many. Like, they're like, so come January and you have your new insurance, you can just go get your stuff, right? I'm like, huh, yeah, don't, that's before I start talking about the deductibles and pen. Like it's so much, so much. That's why, like I tell people, if you can get on any of these like programs within the insulin manufacturers, the technology comes up, whether it's anything, any kind of state Medicaid, like if you have a state that has good, like, like if you
Wow. I feel very called out right
look,
now.
if
Yep.
you basically if you're like in the Northeast or
Yeah.
California,
On the West Coast.
like yeah,
I love that for y'all. I
if
love that
you're
for
like
y'all.
Midwest, South, there's hope,
Yeah. No,
right?
no. When I was uninsured, the conversation that I had with the folks at like the Texas Medicaid thing was like the only way that we will cover you and you will be able to access like insulin and resources through this funding is you if you're pregnant. Like if you get pregnant, yeah, you qualify for Medicaid. And I was like, that will fundamentally make so many things worse.
Worse,
Like
like
that can't be the answer. That cannot be the answer. The answer was in fact having a friend who could go to Mexico and get insulin, or I could go visit and we could go together and get insulin. Or I had a job at the time that took me very close to Canada and I could go to Canada. That in fact ended up being the answer. But within my state, not a thing.
not an option.
Not a thing. Um, 'Cause yeah, even the low cost clinics, the GPs there would not prescribe fast acting insulin. They were like, you need to go to an endo. And it was like, an endo is a specialist and I don't have insurance. So that's not a thing I can do. And they were like, we can do a month. And I'm like, I'm not going to, like, that's not how this works. I will die. And they're like, you can come back. And I'm like, that's another copay. So yeah, it is really crazy trying to explain that to people who aren't who are outside of the US and also people inside of the US who've just never gone without insurance. Like I always tell my friends who are younger than they're like 25, that point where they fall off their parents' insurance. I'm like, bro, you need to have a plan. You need to have you need to have a real plan for that transition period. If you're not
Yes.
working full time, because
About age
mhm,
25 to 26 is when, if like statistics show that uh, the biggest time of burnout within diabetes exists, and a lot of insulin rationing occurs,
mhm,
where you see a lot of 25, 26 year olds being hospitalized with DKA. Be-
yeah,
it's so much added stress.
it is. It is. And I think about the flip side of that is how many of us are in full time jobs that we wouldn't otherwise be in if it wasn't for the insurance. Like I stayed in a job that sent me to the ER almost monthly because I needed the insurance. So I couldn't quit until I had something else that was going to offer decent benefits lined up. But it was enough that the people in the ER knew me by name and were like, so do we think we're in DKA, or do you think you just need fluids? And I was like, I probably just need a bag. I don't think I'm in DKA, but this was happening on a monthly basis.
Look, you just gave me a great title for a post. I just wrote down, I hate my job, but I need the insulin. Like,
Mhm,
like, how many
mhm.
people would actually leave their jobs, or how many people are actually staying with their jobs, their place of employment, because of the health care coverage?
I think so many of us, and even beyond kind of diabetes, I think so many people, it is that's the choice that we're forced to make in a system where we don't have kind of national insurance coverage.
Right.
It's
Do, do
never
you
be dependent
know
on our employment.
now, do you know if someone is continuing education, if they're able to still get like subsidized health insurance premiums or plans?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm thinking like, okay, go to school, 22 bachelors. Let me go
Hmm.
into this master's program, 24. Okay, let me get a second master's.
Yeah, let me get a second master's. So I think, yes, I think now those master's programs, particularly ones that are full time, I know my program is, I have to decline student health insurance every semester. Otherwise, it is built into my kind of semester bill. It is not the bestest insurance ever, but like next semester, where I probably am going to leave my full time job so that I can finish my requirements to graduate, I will take the student insurance, which will not be great, but at the very least, will be some insurance so that I should be able to qualify for some of those stupid assistance programs where you have to have some kind of insurance to qualify for those. Um, and at the very least, still be able to get insulin. And I'm doing that fun thing now where I am using a tandem pod, but I still have, or a tandem Mobi, but I still have a prescription for Omnipods. So I am stockpiling supplies as one does, as one does. But yeah, I think a lot of programs now are requiring health insurance for students. That comes at a cost, but it is available. I think ours is like 17, like 12 to 1700 per semester. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I, I strongly dislike health insurance. Like, I strongly, like, truly, like, I've never, like, when people ask me about, like, what plan should, I'm not the one to talk to about that one because that's another traumatic experience that I've had throughout my life that I do not want to go into. I remember being, uh, 22, 21, going to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription of just Lantus, and they're being like $900. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, me and my dad have the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see how I can use his insurance. All right, call my dad. Okay, here's my all my information. Okay. Now my prescription is down to $70.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I'm like, you haven't lived until the pharmacist has cried with you about, about how much your supplies cost, because that has happened to me. We have sat there together and been like, what is a person supposed to do?
Car note or insulin. Like, it's a conversation that can we can have that conversation forever going on. But how do you tell her, as a person living with chronic health condition, how do you stay, I guess I would say upbeat? How do you stay motivated? How do you not upbeat? We
I'm
ain't
not
up.
a beat.
How do you
I was gonna
stay?
say
How
we
do
know
you
better.
stay? How do you stay motivated towards the main, towards the goal, towards the dreams?
At this
Look,
point, I try not to take diabetes that serious. Like it's serious, but if I focus so much on micromanaging it, one, I'm gonna do it terribly. I've never been great at micromanaging it. I do my best work when I do the least work. So I will set times to be very focused on I need to iron out this particular chunk, and then I leave it alone. I am happy with being good enough and not setting wild, unrealistic healthcare goals for myself. I am not a pancreas. I'm not going to be able to do as good of a job as my body would do naturally. And that's okay. Um, that's okay. We're good enough that I am safe. I am well within the ranges that I need to be in. And that works for me. I ignore any and all conversation about straight lines on CGMs. And I really ignore what other people are doing, which I strongly recommend.
it's an individual thing.
I can't recommend enough that,
Like
sure,
we can talk about the
yeah,
mental health and how it affects
yeah,
you.
yeah. Like if there are things like that, if there are specific things that you're interested in how other people manage. So when I just switched pumps, there are a few people that I trust, and I was like, hey, how are you navigating this? What's worked well for you? Sure. And I've tried it. But for the most part, I really kind of get myself in the mindset of this is mine. So I'm going to manage it in the way that I need to. And whatever's happening with everybody else is what's happening with everybody else.
And
And
it's
that's
been
been great.
yours since you
Mhm.
were 15, 16 years old. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's the
But at one
infant that
point,
keeps on giving.
Lord, it's the worst toddler on the planet. Like it is the wildest little toddler on the planet. So
Yeah.
that's a huge part of it. And trying to just keep it in perspective that there are a bajillion other things going on in my life that aren't diabetes.
Right. Because diabetes is the toddler that keeps on giving because who else can be kicking and screaming on the kitchen floor with a apple juice stuffing their face with gummies.
See, I
Like
didn't eat peanut butter for 2 years because
I just had a conversation with someone about that. They were like, they hadn't, this was last week, they will never eat peanut butter and jelly again.
yeah,
They were like, I remember that was the go-to. Like,
I used to do peanut butter toast when I was in because it was cheap. It was
right,
so
right.
cheap. So I used to do a lot of like peanut butter toast for Lowe's, and now rarely. I can't remember the last time I had like peanut butter on toast with like some cinnamon or anything because just like there were years where that was all I did to treat Lowe's, and now I can't stand it.
Right. And we truly do need that food stipend something like
Just a juice stipend, just a juice
right.
box stipend.
Give me a $30 juice box stipend per month or
Yeah.
every couple few months, something.
Mm-hmm.
Cover that.
There's something
One,
on my taxes. Can I claim juice box medical
one,
supply?
one jar of peanut butter, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has diabetes affected you in like relationships, whether it's significant others, friendships, family wise over the years?
Yeah, yeah. I think it changes. It changes. Like I said, I'm on going on year 17 at this point. So a lot less now than I think it used to, but that's mostly because my approach to how I talk about diabetes has changed in relationships. I used to very much be one of those people who was like, I'm just not going to tell anybody. We don't need to talk about this. I got it. I'll manage it myself. I realize that that's not an effective way to do anything. And people can't help you if they don't know that you need help. And you can't be mad that people aren't helping you if you did not tell them that sometimes you need help. So I am very lucky to have a partner now who's very fond of like hiding fruit snacks everywhere and making sure there are always fruit snacks in my purse and fruit snacks on the bedside table and things like that. And it's very, very kind of vigilant in, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I made him a whole little Taylor's Diabetes for Dummies Google Doc because I'm like, sometimes you be asking too many questions. And when my blood sugar is like 50, you gotta ask less questions. So there's a document for you to refer to.
Taylor, let me tell you, a few years ago, I made an entire one sheeter because I was like, my kids are growing. Like,
Hmm. They need to
I
know.
gave everyone one, kept one on the refrigerator, and I actually sent a link to it.
Yep.
I said, just in case. I mean, they haven't had to
Yeah.
use it, but last week I was taking my boys to the ophthalmologist
Hmm.
and my pump started beeping. I'm like, oh, I'm out of insulin. And
Hmm.
while I'm driving on the highway, and I asked my 15-year-old like if he could do it for me, and he did it
Hmm.
for me. Like,
Oh,
and I
okay.
was like, oh, so he can handle some things. Like, my fault,
Yeah.
Jaden. I know earlier I said I wouldn't trust you with
Yeah, he's been paying attention.
yeah, yeah. He actually
Yeah.
changed my pump, and I was like, wow, thank you. We we are going far into time, but I still have a few more things I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Do you have the time?
I do. I
All
do.
right. All right. So I wanted to ask you as we do wind down,
Hmm.
um, is there any advice that you could share or gift to someone not only newly diagnosed, but someone who's newly diagnosed or a parent of a young person, a teen, young adult that is newly diagnosed?
Well, I think for parents, I would say be easy on yourselves. Be easier on yourselves than you probably are being. Uh, you are going to mess up. We all mess up. It is a learning process. There is a learning curve, and unfortunately, it doesn't stop because our bodies are always changing. Change is kind of the nature of the game, and you have to be flexible along with it. And that's not easy, but you'll figure it out. You'll get a rhythm. It will, it will be okay. You'll deal with the hard stuff as it comes. Uh, and pretty much the same advice to folks who are newly diagnosed. It is going to change. It is going to be a learning curve. You will always have to put in some work into figuring it out. Often, just when it feels like you've got everything kind of dialed in, something will change, and that's not a failure. That's just life. And try to be gentle with yourself through that process, and just kind of remember you don't have to do this by yourself, and that can mean being part of the community or seeking out professional support through kind of mental health. We don't talk about that and people don't do that enough, but the sky doesn't have to be falling to see a therapist. If you just kind of want somebody to talk to about how you're feeling about diabetes or managing this adjustment period to I once didn't have a chronic illness to I do now, or I'm not managing it like I used to, that's okay. It's always a good idea to talk to a therapist. It can't hurt to talk to a professional about kind of how you're feeling if you notice that it's really weighing on you. But yeah, you don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to do it in secret. There are folks who are available to kind of talk to.
Thank you for that, Taylor, because this diagnosis can be isolating. It is isolating. Even
Mhm.
living with it for myself, 21 plus years, yourself, 17, it the majority of it has been isolating. But look at us now.
Right.
No holds barred. Like
Talk about diabetes everywhere now.
yeah, I remember those days of not even speaking of diabetes, like doing everything in secrecy, which is
Hmm.
okay if that's what like, which is
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
Like everyone is not the same. We don't need to flash everything. We
No.
don't. Your choosing is your choosing. Everyone deals with every lived experience differently.
Hmm.
Um, one last question for you, Taylor. Have you at first, well, it's a double-sided question. Have you ever imagined life without diabetes? Like going to like this is your Disney princess moment.
Yeah.
Have you ever imagined life without diabetes?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. I didn't always have diabetes, but I remember I'm not quite old enough yet that I've forgotten what that was like. And boy, sometimes would I just like to have ice cream in peace. To be fair, in a lot of ways, things wouldn't be super different. I think if I'm being completely honest about the trajectory of my life and where I've ended up versus where I thought I was going to be prior to diagnosis, I don't know how different it would be. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I wanted to be a doctor. that was never going to work, given some things that I realized that I absolutely hate as a college student. I was always going to end up kind of doing the profession that I was doing. I think the only major difference would be the people that I've met kind of through the community, the people that I've met in real life um, are a bit different. But unfortunately, as much as I like to say that diabetes is a huge part of my life and changes all the things, I don't know how much it would actually change for me. I am, I am who I am.
You are, and that is you are not that. You are on the day a cure is here, Taylor. We speak this
Mm,
into existence.
yeah.
Hope, hope means everything.
Hmm.
On the day a cure is here, where you wake up, you look at your CGM, and that CGM shows you've been hovering around like 80 to 85 all night.
Yeah.
You get up, stretch a bit, put your feet on the floor, and you notice it's still around 80 to 85. Like,
Yeah.
this is not normal.
Hmm.
For those who live with diabetes, you understand. For those who don't, the
Yeah.
variables of diabetes are infinite. You get a call from a close friend in the DOC, diabetic online community, and they're like,
Hmm.
my diabetes isn't working today. I don't know what's going on. I went to the gym at 6:30, was
Hmm.
and I didn't get all these changes and fluctuations. I haven't given myself any insulin. You find out that that cure is here on that day, and everyone is fully free of insulin dependence. Our bodies are back to making this on its own.
Hmm.
On that day, you find out, what do you do?
Well, I'm gonna get a coffee and I'm gonna take my dog on the longest walk in this very nice park that I don't frequently go to because there's not a real trail. And so there are no people and it is scary. And I never think I have enough fruit snacks. That's day one. I'm gonna keep it real small and I'm gonna go and wander without being like, do I have all the things that I need to make sure that I don't die because I didn't have 15 grams of fruit snacks with me, um, and actually be able to enjoy it. Having that little voice in the back of our heads at all times really dampens some experiences. So yeah, I'm just gonna go out and enjoy a day, and be able to wander.
And just enjoy life.
Hmm.
Even though we still have a lot of worries and problems.
You know, sure, lots of still worries and problems, other health conditions to manage, but
I'm just looking at, I'm trying to, like, I got this vision, this view, like, I'm like, okay, Taylor's without diabetes, but Taylor's about to, she's about to roar, roar big other places.
yeah,
Like, all
yeah,
this energy that's put into this, what we could be
yeah.
doing.
I was gonna say, yeah, no. Then I'm immediately probably going to start looking at PhD programs again. But
You'll get there.
that might happen anyway. So,
I had a conversation with a 16-year-old yesterday. The
mm,
most brilliant young man I've spoken to. He's a dual enrollment student at a college and high school,
okay.
and he's taken up, like, I can say, bioengineering. Like, he's immaculate. He said, on that day, I'm grabbing all this technology. I'm going outside. putting some, he said, I'm putting some gasoline, propane, everything on it, just
Yeah.
lighting it up.
Hmm.
He said he may just keep one pump for nostalgia reasons. But yeah, he said, I'm lighting it all on fire.
That's fair. That's fair. My
Mhm.
God, being able to have a phone that's actually silent,
Hmm.
can't imagine.
We can take it back to the early 2000s and 90s and not even like have the
Right?
phone on
I
us.
was gonna say, I don't have to be attached to my phone all the time. I can just go somewhere. What?
Right.
Freedom.
And Taylor, I truly enjoyed being on this journey with you. It's been a conversation in the making. I truly do miss our diet crew family as a whole.
Hmm.
That's why I've expounded this community. I'm
Yeah.
truly like taking like a lot of the things that were embedded in the diet crew with everything that I'm doing today. But Taylor, thank you again for joining me on this journey that is the Chronically Well podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard. Because Taylor, you are truly someone that needs to be heard.
Ah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.